Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about 5 productive ways to cut cost or rather optimize cost so that your profitability soars up. This video is for veteran MSME entrepreneurs or for young professionals who are looking to make a mark in a family business environment. People who know me would know that I'm not a great fan of cutting cost. I don't believe that by saving on the bullets you can win a war. But there are productive ways to optimize cost on how you deal with cost and how you arrest the leakages. And that is exactly what I'm going to be sharing in this video. So without any further ado, let's jump into point number 1, consolidation. Consolidation is an act of bringing all the activities together under one roof. As an MSME, most of the companies grow from a micro unit to a small unit to a medium unit. And in this process, end up creating or renting small real estate units to do different processes. So you may have 2 units doing 2 different steps in the entire manufacturing. Then you may have 1 unit doing quality checks and the other unit doing packaging, so on and so forth. Now, this kind of brings in a lot of inefficiency and a lot of leakages in terms of cost. There are so many resources that you use during this entire journey of manufacturing to dispatch that can be shared if everything is at one place. Forklift, tools, cupboards, workspaces can be shared if it is all under one roof. Real estate always has some space that is waste, which is not utilized. If you have 5 small real estate premises, you will have this waste space in each of them. But if you consolidate, this waste space, unutilized space, will reduce significantly. You will be able to share the cost of electricity and several other things that are required in the business. Management becomes very smooth because your supervisors don't have to run from one place to another place to another place to supervise how the work is happening. And good supervision leads to good production. Also, a lot of times product moves from one real estate to another real estate, and that is waste of time. Most often than not, this movement happens from a public place, which is not designed for smooth movement of products. All of this leading to super inefficiency, which means that if you were to create 100 units if there was a possibility to create 100 units a day, you, because of this efficiency, would be creating 60 or 70 units a day. The deficit of the 30-40 units per day, that's where the cost improvements are lying. And if you're able to achieve that with consolidation, your cost per unit comes down and your profitability soars higher. That brings us to point number 2, and point number 2 is called CAPA. Now, CAPA stands for corrective action and preventive action. CAPA is implemented to reduce defects. Now, defects are a reality in any company. Defects can be a result, can be an outcome of improper processes or process adherence, which is not done, or it could be the machine maintenance, it could be the skill of the worker or the operator. It could be a combination of all of these things. Now, when there is a defect, you need to rework, which means that the time invested to rework and correct the defect can not be used to produce another unit, which means again, if you were to create 100 units, because there were so many defects, you could only create 70 because 30 units worth of time was utilized in correcting what was not right in the first place. CAPA and an efficient implementation of CAPA means every time there is a defect, somebody records the defect, investigates what caused the defect, takes a corrective action, and also takes a preventive action for that defect to never happen again. And then you track it to see it through, to see that the CAPA was successful and similar defects never happened again for a consistent period of time. Now, if this kind of practice is implemented, the defects over time will reduce, which means you will spend time in productive activities to produce more instead of reworking things that were defective in the first place. And that again will bring your cost per unit down and soar your profits. The third point is overstocking. Now, a lot of MSMEs overstock because they feel that when they get a big order, they don't want to be running out of the products. So they overstock. Typically, this happens because there is fluctuation in sales. Sometimes you get 100 orders, the next month you get 20, the third month you may get 40, the fifth month you may get 10, and the sixth month you may get 150. Now, this fluctuation in the number of units that people order from you causes the entrepreneur to decide that, okay, let me store more. And that's kind of insurance to this fluctuation. The right thing to do is actually sales planning and implementation of just in time. Now, when you do sales planning, it's an activity where you study why certain things happen. Why did you get 100 and why did you get a 10? Now, when you study both of these, both the highs and the lows in the sales, you realize that there are certain things that you can repeat and create a similar situation. It's like going to the right kind of people with the right kind of quantities, with the right kind of amount gets you the sale. So if you get 5 such people, your consistency increases. By sales planning in the right way, the consistency of sales increases, and therefore you get to know how many units will be required more or less. The more the units required and the units actually sold, the difference between the two, the more it reduces, the less you will overstock. I will do a separate video on how to go about sales planning in the near future. So subscribe to this channel and make sure you're onto it so that you don't miss that video. The other thing that I said you do is implement just in time, which means place yourself in an area where you not only have vendors, but you have multiple vendors of the same kind. Now, the more vendors you have nearby and the more choices you have of these vendors, the lesser stocking you will do because they will stock for you, which means again, you are not investing your hard-earned money and blocking your cash. Now, when you don't overstock, you are left with cash in hand, which can be utilized to upskill your laborers, upskill your managers, which means that there'll be better productivity, and better productivity again would mean lower the cost per unit. And that's how you go about soaring your profits once again. The point number 4 is called smart recruitment. I have worked with a lot of companies over a decade, and this is what I normally see. There are 3 layers of people that are employed in the company. First layer is the operator layer. These are executors who actually produce items. Then there are supervisors, which kind of have a dual role. They kind of also execute but supervise the rest of them. These are typically senior people who've been in the organization for quite some time, but they are not designated as a manager because they don't have that kind of a skill. The third layer is obviously the managers, the people who can do Excel sheets, make reports, and they act like a bridge between you as an entrepreneur and your rest of the employee. Now, with these 3 layers, what we have always seen is if the skill of the bottommost layer is bad, then you require more supervisors. If the skill is bad, the discipline is bad, you require supervisors to do the behaviors, to set the behaviors right. If the skill of that level is good, if they know how to operate machines, lesser the number of supervisors. Now, if the skill of the supervisors is brilliant, then lesser the number of managers. And if the skill of the supervisors is not great, then you need managers to hold supervisors to account. So if you recruit smartly, when I say recruit for the skill that is required and then retain them, then you are going to be able to save cost, because supervising and managing is a non-value added activity. It does not produce any money. If I'm monitoring somebody, whether he's doing the work right or no, I am not producing any money, but I'm investing money so that I can pay myself, who is responsible only to monitor. Unless I make the products myself, that is where the money is. Now, when it comes to that, 2 things are important. Normally at a labor level, we kind of do a decent job of recruiting people. So if you require a welder, you will take a welder and hire him to do the welding job. But when you require a supervisor, that's when we make a mistake. When you require a manager, that's where we make a mistake. And then we hire people who are poor at skills because we don't know how to measure skills. So that is where one needs to improve on your costs therefore. Point number 5 is compensation. Now, most MSMEs would agree with me that this is a very important topic for multiple standpoints. First one, that the wage bill is the biggest cost that any small businesses would have. The second thing is compensation is important to retain people. And there is an associated activity which is also the pain in the neck called appraisals. So how should you go about compensation to not only reduce your cost, but also to manage things smartly? So the first thing that you got to do is do some maths. The idea is to divide the compensation into 2 parts. First one is the fixed salary, which is what one gets irrespective to how he performs. The second thing is the incentive that the person gets, which is the variable income based on how he performs. Now, the maths that you got to do is you got to bring the compensation, which is a combination of fixed plus variable income, to a point which is significantly higher than that your competitor offers. The amount of production or the amount of work that you expect out of the employee also has to be significantly higher to justify this increased salary and go beyond what your competitors can produce. So let's understand with an example. If your competitor produces 100 units, your target should be to produce 150 units. If your competitor pays 50 rupees to produce that 100 units, you say, I will give you 100 rupees to produce 150 rupees, but that 100 units, 100 rupees, I will give you with 50 rupees as your fixed income and the next 50 rupees as your variable income. Now, when you do it in this fashion, now these are numbers that I just gave you as an example. You got to do the maths smartly. But when you do the compensation in this way, your employee understands that there is a possibility for me to earn much more in this company than elsewhere. And if he wants to earn much more, he has to produce more, which means that the cost per unit comes down. You got to do the maths around this. There is a method that can be employed to do your incentives, and that is called scorecards. I will do a separate video in the near future again on scorecards. I have done it in the past, but this one will be a little more detailed. So be on my channel, subscribe to it, and play with the bell icon to not miss that video. So with this, you will be able to set your compensation structure well and navigate your entire team to produce more efficiently, thereby improving your costs and thereby improving your profitability. So if you like this video, do share it with your team, with everybody, and brainstorm on how you could employ one of these points that I mentioned to improve your profitability and reduce your cost. If you have any questions, suggestions, you may have 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th point, please mention it in the comment box for other entrepreneurs to learn from you. It will initiate a discussion and we will all learn together. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash it, break it into two. There is no cost for that. And do play with the bell icon, because once you click on that, every time I put a video, you will be notified. So until we meet again, all you fine people, keep looking at opportunities to optimize your cost, make more money, make more profit, make our country what it needs to be and what it deserves. Until then, all you fine people, keep propelling.